So I would like to welcome you all to the Creators Roundtable. I'm very excited about the case studies event that Dana is going to put on for us. I'm Nancy Russo. April starts my 40th year of my graphic design business, year 7 of the Creators Roundtable, and entering my 3rd year as an adjunct professor of typography. For the one person who's not part of the group, a little intro of the Creators Roundtable. It's made up of small accountability coaching groups and an active Slack community. The coaching registration just finished, but you can join the Slack community at any time. We have a few upcoming events. In June and July. June, we have a free happy hour with Janine, navigating your business budget. July, we have a free happy hour with Janine, mastering social media. Then our events pick back up in September. And so I just want to introduce Dana. So when I asked the Creators Roundtable community for a speaker on studies, Danielle Hughes immediately said Dana Owens. So she knows that your client success stories are your best sales tool, and she's made it her mission to help businesses tell them brilliantly. She's the founder of Next Level Copy, and after more than 20 years writing about every kind of copy you could imagine, she's now laser focused on case studies. Dana doesn't just gather testimonials, she conducts deep dive, story driven client interviews that transform happy customers into powerful sales closing narratives. She firmly believes that there's not a business out there that wouldn't benefit from hearing and sharing their own success stories. So get ready to rethink how to capture your wins. Dana will pause for questions so you can put them in the chat, but don't unmute. Just wait for her pauses and take it away, Dana.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting, and I love talking about my favorite work-related passion, which is case studies, and also just customer-centric messaging. If you're like, what the heck is customer-centric messaging? We'll talk about that. You'll learn as I go. But thanks for having me. I'm excited to share about case studies and also my niche business with you because what I do is extremely niche. But today we are going to talk about case studies. They're so overlooked and so underused among businesses in any industry, every single size. And so I'm just here to share how they can really help you in your sales and marketing efforts. There we go. Okay, so just a little bit about me. So I've been a B2B copywriter for 20 plus years. I've, like Nancy said in my intro, like I have written every single form of copy under the sun, from random like newsletters to sales collateral to website copy to sales sequences, everything you could imagine. And through that have really not only grown my passion for copywriting, but also just for messaging strategy and helping businesses of all sizes learn how to succinctly tell what they do in a way that their potential customers can actually understand. Um, I do this and really have become passionate about, whoops, oh my gosh, click around. Through interviewing my clients and just sharing the good news that they're telling me in a way that potential buyers can see how that would also benefit them as well. So, like I said, I started as a generalist copywriter for primarily B2B, doing everything under the sun. And I just saw over and over and over again that I became passionate about helping solopreneurs or big companies, small companies, it didn't matter, share the stories of how their clients were winning with their products and services or how their lives were being impacted. And so few of those businesses and business owners were really able to tell me exactly how the transformations were taking place or what transformations were taking place. They knew exactly what they did and what their product or service was designed to provide. And so they were well equipped to tell me everything that they wanted featured as far as the features and benefits of their products and services. But they were very ill equipped to talk about the results that their products and services were actually having in their customers' lives. And so I realized, whoa, this is a really huge hole here that I would love to fill. because I would love to be the person that was talking directly with companies' clients and relaying back to the business owner or the company, hey, like, did you know that your work is causing this type of an impact in your clients' lives? And most of the time they'd be like, no, I really did not know that this full range of result was happening. Um, and not only relaying that back to them, but helping them leverage that information into improving their sales process, improving their marketing, improving their social media content. Everything that you can imagine can be improved by, um, talking to your customers and then leveraging what they say. So in a nutshell, that's really what I do. But how I consider, I tell people I'm a case study writer. Yes, that's true. I tell people that I'm a customer insight strategist. Yes, that's true. But really what I do is just I talk to companies and business owners, clients, and then I help them leverage what they say into better sales and marketing. So before we start talking about case studies, because that's really what we're here to talk about, is I want to zoom out. Like case studies are a tool, but they really fit into like an ecosystem of messaging that every single business can benefit from. And that ecosystem is really called customer centric messaging. So when you think about like how you talk about your business, no matter what you do, no matter what size it is, no matter whether you're having a conversation with a random person on the street or you're writing website copy for yourself or you're trying to put together a Instagram post or a LinkedIn post, however you like whatever you're doing to communicate about your business is basically messaging. You are in conversation with a potential client. And so a lot of the messaging that is out there in the world today and has always been out there is the company talking about itself. This is what we do. This is what I do. And everything is coming from a real company centric language and viewpoint. And so, what I really aim to educate business owners and companies about is taking more customer centric approach with their messaging. So, if you take case studies as your tool, but you zoom out, case studies fit into this ecosystem called customer centric messaging. And customer centric messaging directly showcases your customers in your messaging and it really reflects what your customers want, need, and value. So we all know as business owners, I'm a business owner too. I have my services that I provide to my customers. I know what I designed them to do. I know what results I designed them to provide. But what I've learned over time in talking to customer upon customer upon customer is it's shocking how yes, your work is definitely delivering the impact that you designed it to deliver, but there are typically so many more impacts that it's having that you didn't design it to provide, but it's doing anyway in addition, which is really exciting. But you don't really know unless you directly talk to your customers and get strategic feedback what they are actually experiencing and what they actually wanted, needed, and or valued before they began working with you or purchased anything from you. So customer centric messaging is doing a paradigm shift from flipping from this is what I do to I'm going to start telling the messages that I know are the most important to my customer. So examples of customer-centric messaging are testimonials. We all know, I'm sure, are well acquainted with testimonials. There are case studies, which we will talk about how testimonials are different than case studies, because that's a very common misconception and confusion point that a lot of people come to me with. They're just direct quotes that you get from talking to customers or potential prospects it's website copy and social media content, like how you actually talk about your business in the outside world. And it's the sales conversations that you're having as you go about your sales process to try to sell your products or services. So why is it important? Like it's great to think, oh yeah, of course I should be saying things through the lens of my customer, but why really is important? So it's really important for your potential clients to see themselves in your messaging and in your solutions. Like I said, it's one thing to talk about what your business does from your viewpoint, but people really, and you can think about yourself in a consumer's shoes too, because we've all are buying things every day or considering buying things every day. Um, the most you can probably think to like the easiest sells for you, or even things that you know that you've needed that are a higher price point, and you are like, oh, I don't know if I should spend the money on that. And all of a sudden, you're like talking to somebody who's selling something that you're considering buying, and whoop, before you know it, your credit card's out, and you're like, yes, I'm buying that. That is most likely because you have seen yourself in the messaging and in the solution that the person is providing to you. It's much more persuasive, compelling, and memorable than if the business owner or the person selling the product or service were just to talk to you about the product or service itself and all the features and benefits, or what the company does. So when you are able to see yourselves, and when your potential clients are able to see themselves in your solution, all of a sudden it's a much more compelling message for a potential buyer. It also allows your clients to connect peer to peer with someone who has used the service, instead of just always hearing directly from the person selling the service. So those are the three reasons why customer-centric messaging is really important. Basically, it's like, I want to see how this product or service is going to help me, and I want to have a vivid picture of seeing myself succeed with it. So if we're zoomed out to look at like a great paradigm shift to take when you're talking about your business or trying to sell your product or service is to come at it from, this is what my product or service does, and this is what my company does. And we paradigm shift to customer centric messaging. One of the best ways to get some customer centric messaging into your sales and marketing and into your business in general is get some case studies working for you. So they're the number one best source, in my opinion, and not just because I've created a business around case studies, but I feel like they do the best job of really delivering customer centric messaging in the most effective way. Um, but they're the easiest to create. And even if you have just one happy customer, you literally have the material that you need to get a case study working for you in your business. So let's just talk real briefly about what a case study is. So a lot of people use case studies and testimonials interchangeably, and I've had so many people who know that I'm a case study writer, and they come to me and they're like, I've got so many great case studies on my website. I can't wait for you to take a look. And then I'll go and take a look, and I'll see testimonials. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with testimonials. Everybody needs testimonials, and as many as possible working for them in their sales and marketing, but they're very different than case studies. So a testimonial is essentially like a soundbite where um, you have a snippet, maybe three sentences on your website or in your marketing collateral, or you put one on social media, um, or you make a video of a testimonial. And really, they're meant to be short. So you can't really go in depth into the whole story that your customer journeyed through with your product or service to have a transformation or an impact. So, and typically testimonials are very focused on the results. Like, hey, I lost 100 pounds with this solution, or I worked with X and X coach and I went from, $0 revenue months to $10,000 revenue months. Very focused on the result. But a case study is truly a way more in-depth look, a way more detailed look into your client's experience with you in particular, your company, and or your service, or all of those things. And so a case study is way more in depth than what a testimonial ever is supposed to function to be, or what it really is ever used as. This is just, I'll put a message if I can pull up the chat. I don't know that I can. I'm full screen here, so I can't. But if you go to my website, which is nextlevelcopy.com, and you do /samples, or if you click on the samples link on my homepage, you'll be able to see loads of examples of what I mean by actual case studies. And you'll see, whoa, these are not testimonials. These are definitely in-depth, detailed looks at a client's experience. So, what really makes a good case study is, and I'm sure that you've heard the term case study been thrown around a lot. Like, oh, it's definitely become a buzzword in the last 5 years, certainly since I've had this niche business. And I've had this niche business and just only focusing on case studies for 6 years now. So the whole time that I've been doing that, case studies has definitely been a buzzword. And you can go to so many different businesses and solopreneurs websites, and they have a case studies tab. And a lot of times when you click on that, you'll see some case studies. But just the term case study sounds kind of clinical. A lot of people think about case study as like, it just seems they might think of like, I don't know. I always think of dusty. Like they're really boring and told with a lot of jargon or technical language. They're definitely like they fall in the same category as white paper. Like nobody is like, and not to say that there aren't amazing white papers out there, but nobody's like, you know what I'm going to do with my free time today? I'm going to go catch up on all of those white papers I downloaded. Like nobody says that. So case studies, when they're not done in a compelling way, they kind of fall into that bucket. They can be very drab and boring. But those aren't the good ones. The good ones are the ones that really take a customer-centric approach in the way that they're presented and delivered. They are feature a client who has actually been interviewed. They're not good because the company is taking yet another opportunity to talk about itself and tell about one of their clients' experience through the company's viewpoint. So the best case studies have a client that has actually been interviewed and they are told from that client's perspective. They're shared in a story format or more or less of a story format. I do two different versions of case studies. One is a long, I call it a full story case study, and it truly is the story of a client's experience told from their vantage point. But I also do a one-page case study, and it's really hard to do a whole story format and a one-pager. But for the best of my ability with that space, we tell it through the client's lens. So as much as possible, it's the story of the client's experience told from their perspective. Another thing that makes a case study truly good is that it's strategically created to connect with a specific market or audience. So, case studies are good when they are very intentionally created. And so, we'll talk about a little bit more about this later, but you really want to have a purpose for your case studies. You want to be trying to reach a certain type of person or a certain type of audience. And that's what makes them really relatable. Another thing is they include a lot of potential connection points for your reader. So, because you have the space in a case study to really tell the story of how you worked with the client or the results or the impacts that they had because of your work, you're able to get into the challenges or wants or needs that they were having in the beginning. You're able to get into a little bit of more about your unique approach or how you work with clients or your secret sauce. Obviously, you don't want to share all your secret sauce, but you have more space to kind of get into your differentiators. And you also have more space to get into the range of results that your clients saw with your product or service. Again, that's all things you can't get into that with a testimonial, but with the case study, you have that space. And so you want to include as much detail and connection points as possible because you don't know what your reader, your potential client, is going to resonate with the most. So the more connection points for them to connect with, the better. And then the last thing is you really want to have your case studies formatted so that they're easy to read and that they're professionally designed. You probably have been on websites where you've seen case studies being presented, and when there's no design thought whatsoever, I've seen so many case studies that are just like text dumps on a web page. And again, like a white paper, that's not getting read. So the best case studies are the ones that are easy to read, easy to consume, and look beautiful. Okay, so specifically, how can case studies help you and your business? And the reason that I talk about case studies a lot, and a lot of times people are like, just tell me how to write one. And what I've learned is that telling you how to write one is step two, because step one, so many people aren't even prioritizing getting them in their sales and marketing toolbox because they don't understand how um, extremely powerful they can be. And so I just wanted to share with you all of the different reasons that they really can help your business. One, they show that your work works. Like it is amazing how many service providers, business owners of every size, they are just out there talking about their services, their products, their messaging, and they are not spending enough time talking about how their work actually works. And so, if you are a business owner who talks about the impacts that your work is having in your clients' lives, you instantly put yourself into a whole, like a top tier of business owners who are able to message that way, and like you block out so much of the noise. If you think about no matter what you do, and basically all of us, like you can take any industry, any business owner, we all have a ton of competition. And so many of those of your competition out there is talking about the same thing, using the same messages. So coming out by showing, hey, this is how my work works, instantly differentiates you from so many other business owners. You're able to establish credibility and authority that I know what I'm doing. Like my work actually produces results, which is humongous. You can differentiate yourself from your competitors because you're able to actually explain how your process, your approach is different, how the results that you help your clients achieve are different or are in existence. That's a great way to differentiate yourself. You can justify your price. Case studies are amazing tools if you have a higher ticket product or service that people, like if it's a those $27 products or even let's say a $149 product, they're kind of easy to buy because you're like, what's the harm? I mean, I can't tell you how many different workout programs I've purchased, and it's like, oh, it's $129. If I don't end up making it through this whole thing, or I don't really like it, or the instructor's voice drives me insane, like it's not the end of the world. It's only $129. But when you start talking about $1,000, $2,000, $7,500, $10,000, anything that is like real money that's going to hurt if you aren't happy with how you're spending it, that stinks. So case studies are one great tool to use to help you justify, like, look at how this client's life has been impacted and improved by my business, by my service, and allows you to justify your prices because you can show the range of results that someone can expect when they work with you. It provides third-party validation. We all know that social proof is like, and word of mouth marketing is like the name of the game. Has been for years, probably always will be. Case studies are your third-party validation right there. Um, just having them and knowing that you have had clients, that you've created tools to show how you have impacted your clients' lives, it provides so much more confidence when you are prospecting and when you are selling your business, yourself, your services, your products, just because you have that backing that, hey, I'm not just telling you how my products and services work. I have actually people who are backing me up saying that this is true, that this is how their lives have been impacted. I mean, it's amazing to get on sales calls with more confidence. And then the last thing is they really do help you attract your ideal clients. Having case studies that speak directly to specific clients of yours and how you've helped them allows you to filter in the ones that you want to attract more of and also filter out the ones that you're like, why did these people keep contacting me? You can start to show them through your case studies, like, this is the type of client I work with. This is the work you should expect to do. This is the price point that I have. It really helps you. I like to, I just call them tire kickers, but it's like, it really helps you filter out those clients. You're like, no, I've been even if you've been in business for more than 6 months, you're like, I do not want to work with these types of clients. So it helps you filter those people out. Um, well, I'm going to take a quick pause, and before we kind of talk about, like, I want to give you very tangible ways that you can market with case studies. I have like a favorite approach to marketing that I use with my case studies and share with my clients, and also just a way to insert case studies into your sales process. But before I do, does anybody have any questions about how they are thinking about case studies right now in their business, how you might be using case studies in your business, how to start creating case studies in your business? Any questions that you have on just like a creation or a usability standpoint before I actually start to give you some good ways to insert them in your sales and marketing process?
You can unmute if you have questions. Ginny, how time consuming is it for a client to go through this process?
It is not, well, it depends on, there's, many different ways to do this, but when the way that I do it is I run a 30-minute interview with my clients. So the time consuming nature for them is they need to be open and available for a 30-minute interview, and then they need to be available for 15 minutes to review and approve the case study as it is created. That's what I do with my clients. However, if you want to do the interviewing yourself, which you absolutely can do, you can kind of set up the parameters however you feel comfortable with. You can do a lot with 20-minute time frame, a 20-minute Zoom call where you have, just a list of questions that you want to use to get specific insights from your clients about how your work has impacted them and how they've been using it, and what things that they found the most value in from going through your process. You can do that in 20 minutes. And I'm happy to share in the wrap up of this. I have 7 interview questions that I don't stick to them by the book, but they definitely guide my calls. I'm happy to share those with you. So I'd say from a client lift perspective, whether you're doing the interviewing yourself or you're hiring out the interviewing, 20 to 30 minutes for the interview, 15 minutes for someone to review and approve the case study draft, and that's it.
So Jocelyn asked, do you always call them case studies or do you use other language or a different name that can make them more compelling or interesting?
Yes. So there's customer success stories, there's customer stories. Um, those are primarily the ones that I use. I have one client that insists on calling them customer excellence stories. But basically, what I've found is no matter what way we dress them up to sound better, everybody always ends up just quickly calling them case studies. I think it's people like to use like a different term in the beginning to make everybody feel more comfortable. And then it's like, okay, we all know what we're doing here. And everyone ends up calling them case studies anyways. But I would say go with customer success story. Um, yeah, or just success stories. You can really dress them up however you want, as long as the message is clear, is that, hey, we're just, what I would like to do is, have a couple of examples of how my clients are succeeding and have been impacted with the work that we've done.
What's the importance of doing it like on a phone or Zoom call versus sending them a form to fill out?
I know it is so much easier to in so many people's minds to do the email because it feels a lot less scary. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to bother my client, and then let alone I feel like I'm bothering them, and then I'm staring at them on a Zoom call. But I would say if by far the most impactful feedback that you can get is going to come on even just a 20-minute Zoom call. You just think about the way that when you have any kind of conversation, like when you are having a face-to-face conversation on Zoom, people just want to open up more and give you more detail. They just plain and simple do. Nobody is going to be on a Zoom call and you ask them a question and they go, yes, and then they don't say anything else. Like no one's going to do that because that would be so awkward for them. So you're going to get a lot juicier insights if you do it on a Zoom call. Second most valuable would be a phone call. Last would be, but still more meaningful than doing nothing at all would be the email. you just give people too much power to answer real quickly or not expand on things. And what you really want are details and actual quotes and things that you can, turn into juicy, compelling case studies. So that's how I would rate that communication. If you feel like you can, your client that you'd love to feature in a case study is willing and open and great about jumping on a Zoom call, don't pass up that chance because it's the best feedback you're going to get.
Okay. That's all the questions we have.
Cool. Okay. So I wanted to just give you a few, like as I talk about my favorite way to market with case studies and then my favorite way to sell with case studies, you'll see an example of a one-page case study on this slide. And so before we jump into the marketing and the sales, I think this example is big enough on your screen to actually see. If not, Nancy will share the slides with you afterwards. But you can see how I organize these case studies so they're clearly laid out, easy to consume, um, not a big wall of text or all mumble jumbled with the message. Basically, what you want is a headline. You want a subhead that specifically talks about how your client in particular was able to do X, Y, and Z with your product or service. And then I start to outline what were the challenges that the client was experiencing? What was the solution? Obviously, it's your product or service, and you position that in the way that this is like the way that you kind of jam pack this section in with the unique differentiators that you want to be known for. And then we have a section that just talks about the results. We like in this one pager, we just I bullet out the results. But it's interesting. So this is a perfect example of like when this particular client, it was for it's much more than a business coach. This type of coach does all this different type of coaching, like whatever a particular client needs. So it could be social emotional coaching. It could be coaching on delivering presentations. It could be like business numbers coaching, like all kinds of things. So it's interesting because when this client came to me, she wanted me to feature this particular client because this client had this one major result. And so the case study could have been about how this client had this one major result. But in doing the interview and talking to her about her experience, we realized that she really had, what are there now? 9 different results. So all of a sudden, we've taken we thought the story was with this one major result, and we were able to break out all of these different impacts that had come out of because of the coaching engagement. So you'll see these results is it's not just the one major result. We want to touch on as many different results, whether they're tangible results or they're intangible results like confidence growth or relationship expansion or whatever it is. We want to touch on as many results as we can because like I said before, those are all potential connection points for your potential clients who might be really looking for some of those things. But anyways, we have the results section, and then I always on a one pager I pull out the most money quote, I call it, that really encapsulates the best value. This is essentially your testimonial baked inside of your case study. And then the last part of the case study is the CTA. What do you want people to do? Like, what do you really want? What's the message that you want them to take away, and how do you want them to connect with you? So the case study structure, if you're like, I just want to take a stab at creating my own case studies, if you followed this format, you would be well on your way, if not all the way on your way to being able to do this yourself. So just to recap, title, subhead, challenge or challenges, solution, results, quote, and CTA, call to action. So that's 7 sections to a one-page case study. But how I use these in my marketing, it's really how it's how I use them, but also I have so many people that come to me because I get globbed into the marketing world, even though I consider myself more sales enablement. But I have so many people come to me and say, oh, I just hate marketing. It's so confusing. I always feel like there's 5,000 things that I should be doing. And then I end up doing like basically none of them. Like, I just feel like marketing is just this big rat's nest. And I say, to really streamline it down for yourself, the best thing that you could do that's only 2 steps is to define exactly the type of prospect you want to reach. Like, if you could attract 10 clients just like this one type of client and it would totally make your business, what would that client type look like? Get nitty gritty. And then if you have a client a past client, it doesn't matter if that client you haven't worked with them in a year, 2 years, it doesn't matter. If they are still reachable, or maybe you're working with them right now, create a case study that speaks to the challenges, solution, and results of that ideal client of yours, and just start sharing that case study everywhere on social media, in all of your prospecting emails, every time somebody reaches out for more information, on your website, anywhere you can think of to share this case study, do it. That is going to be an extremely effective marketing approach that will take away all the marketing noise for a while and at least have you pointed in the very right direction to attract in the right person. So if you're a person who's like, I hate marketing, it's so confusing to me, take it all down to the studs for a little bit and just define exactly who the type of prospect is you want to reach, and then either create a case study about a client that aligns as best as possible with that type of person. Um, and or if you already have one of those case studies in existence, only focus on sharing that one. And that I've found time and time again has helped more of my clients jumpstart their marketing, myself included, than pretty much anything else, than just trying to put another post on LinkedIn because I should be doing it, or put another, go to this networking event because maybe I'll meet somebody. Like, I have found more success with this approach than anything else. As far as the sales go, there's so many different sales strategies that I could share with you about case studies, but my number one favorite one is when you're on a sales call with someone, whether it's an actual, by the book sales call, or it's just you're in conversation with somebody. You could be at a restaurant, you could be taking a walk in the park, it doesn't matter. But all of a sudden you find yourself in conversation with somebody who's like, oh, this could be a potential client. Listen to what pain points they're describing to you, and and hopefully this conversation, if you don't already have clients floating around in your mind of like your collection of clients who you've had great wins with, or they've had great results because of what you do. If you don't already have that in your mind, start to cultivate a list of clients like, yeah, Sally really, this is what really happened because of our work with her. And oh, yeah, Sharon really had this happen because of our work. And you want like a little catalog of either case studies or stories in your mind of clients that you've helped in different ways. And so when you're in some of these sales conversations and you're hearing someone talk about the pain points that you're having, it's like shuffling through your little catalog and you're like, oh, this person I'm talking to aligns best with Sharon. And so on that call, you bring up, hey, the challenges that you're sharing with me are very similar to the one that my client Sharon had, and here's how we solve them. So you start to work these client, again, this is customer centric messaging. You start to work some of these case studies into your sales calls by identifying the pain points that your potential client is talking about, figuring out, oh, these pain points are just the most similar to what my client, whoever, had. And then if you have a case study in existence, you can, and you're on, like, let's say a Zoom call, you can actually pull up the case study on the Zoom call. Of course, you can talk to it even if you don't have a case study to show. But if you have a case study to show, you can pull it up on the Zoom call. Instantly, I've had so many clients do this, and they're like, instantly, it made me look like the utmost professional that I had taken the time to create a well-designed case study that I integrated into my sales call. So I'm talking them through how I helped this client solve challenges just like theirs. And they're able to see this beautifully designed case study right there on the screen. And they said it did so much for them to, gain authority, establish credibility, get that third party validation, all those great things that we know work to remove people's hesitations about whether or not they're going to invest. And then, of course, no one has time to read the case study on the sales call. But when you hang up from that call or you leave that conversation in the park or wherever it is you're talking to somebody, you can follow up instantly with the case study. You can send it to them and say, hey, I just wanted you to have a copy of the case study that I referenced on our call today, or when we talked in the park today, or wherever you were. And then the person is able to, peruse the case study at their leisure. And it's a way for them to remember you and kind of get you stuck in their brain a little bit. So that's my favorite strategy for sales calls. Listen to the pain points, pull out of your catalog of clients who they best relate to that you've done good work with, walk them through the case study of that client's experience, and then send the case study to them after the call. Any questions on that? Either the marketing approach or the sales approach that might have been confusing, or how you might need to adapt to insert it into your own sales process?
I love the idea of, walking them through and then sending it to them after the call. That's really great.
Yeah, it just gives you a reason to follow up, without just saying, it was so great. Our call was so great today. Let me know if you need anything, which leaves them loosey goosey. It's like you can say, if you want to be really affirmative in your follow up, you say, hey, I just wanted you to have the copy of the case study that I talked about on our call. I am super confident that I can help you have very similar results. Take a look at this case study, and I'll follow up with you tomorrow or the next day, and we'll continue the conversation. Or here's a link to my Calendly. Book in a time to talk to me. Something like that. Like it gives you that in to be more to drive the sales conversation more than just to hand it off and cross your fingers and hope that person follows up.
Yeah. It doesn't look like we have any other questions, so I guess we could continue on.
Okay. So, how do you start to increase your customer centric messaging? That's really, if there's nothing else that you get out of this call today besides I love case studies and I think everyone should be using them in your sales and marketing, it's really like start to think about how you can infuse your messaging and your sales conversations with more customer centric insights and approach. So you can, this is how you start really increasing it though. Take a look at your social media content for the last couple months. Take a look at your website copy. Take a look at your emails if somebody's reaching out to you for more information, and some of your email exchanges about what you do, what you sell, and what you provide. And audit it from that customer centric lens. Like, is your messaging really focused on your products and services and what you do? Is it all coming from you and what you think your clients want, need, and value? Really analyze it, and and look for little ways that you're like, oh, I could infuse my emails more with customer centric messaging by including that testimonial that I got last month from this client. I can embed that right into the, a portion of this email. Or maybe it's, realizing, hey, I have zero case studies working for me in my sales and marketing process, but I have happy clients. All you need is one happy client and you have a case study to make. So if it's like, oh, I have zero case studies, I haven't even thought about taking the time to do that, that's obviously something that you can do to start to increase your customer centric messaging. And then also, you can just start to think about, like, do I have a process in place to gather customer feedback after I'm done working with the client? Or, I mean, for so many companies, like, it doesn't matter what size. I work with solopreneurs all the way. My biggest client, their goal is to reach $1 billion in revenue this year. So they're huge. Even they don't have a process for gathering customer feedback strategically yet. We're working on that together. So, I mean, it's just low hanging fruit to think, is there a way that I can just be more strategic about at the end of an engagement? Can I like say, hey, a part of my process is I um, I wrap up our work together by having a 20-minute insight call with you where I just gather feedback on what you loved, what you thought could be better, what parts of my process did you resonate the most with, and what are some of the results you're starting to see. Even that is like a gargantuan leap in the right direction to start getting some of this juicy feedback. Okay, and then how do you, if you're like, I have no case studies, or I do have case studies, but I don't think that they're compelling enough, or I think they're told too much through my perspective as the business owner, how do you really start creating them in a way that boosts your sales and marketing success? Number one is nail down your ideal clients or your ideal target markets. Really get strategic about looking at if I could only take in clients that I love working with, who are they? Like in lots of detail, who are they? Or what markets are the best markets to help me meet my business goals? So often, and I used to be such a this I used to do this all the time. It was like every client is a good client of mine. Like if you sent me a email and it was like, hey, I would love to work together. I wouldn't do any qualifying. It was like, yes, great, fine, fine, fine. Now it's like I've realized that there are certain target markets that are going to help me grow my business in the way that I want to grow it. And so I really want to be honed in on them. So I know who to say yes to and who to say no to. But step number one, nail down those ideal clients or those ideal target markets. Then, like we kind of talked about before, identify your past or current clients who fit inside of those ideal client buckets or ideal target market buckets. Even if they don't have to be 100% aligned, just mostly aligned. Even if it's only one client, it doesn't matter. Just identify who fits your ideal clients and your ideal target markets, and then create case studies about them. Okay, that's it. Don't worry about creating case studies about anybody who doesn't fit inside of those ideal buckets. That is going to be the quickest way that you can start identifying the right case studies to create and really streamline your time resources to actually be creating case studies that are going to be effective for you. Because what's the point in creating case studies that aren't going to be effective? Okay, just a couple examples here before I'm done. This is Marcy Rader. She is the I call her the business productivity and consultant and coach. She's the one from that one-page case study I shared with you. She uses her case studies in every single email she sends out to prospects, and every single time she sends out a proposal, she attaches the right aligned case studies with that proposal. So she's not just throwing out every case study she's ever had or made. She's only attaching the ones that truly align with the proposal she's sending out. So for her, case studies have been huge for her business because her consulting packages range anywhere from 100K to six-figure packages. So if her case study, and they have, if her case studies, she sends a case study with a proposal and it helps remove her buyer's hesitation and they book a package with her, that one asset can help her win potentially a six-figure deal. Like definitely worth the time and effort to get some case studies working for her. Another client, Iman Ismail, she's an email strategist and a sales copywriter. She uses her case studies. She's strategically created 4 different case studies to speak to very different client types and client pain points. She uses them on every single sales call. And then she also uses them before someone even gets on a call with her. If they reach out to request more information and they say, hey, I want to hop on a call and discuss a potential project, she sends the right case study to them that aligns with their needs and to use it as a filter because she doesn't want to get on a sales call with people who ultimately aren't a great fit. So she uses her case studies to be that filter in or filter out. Then when they're actually on the call together, she'll pull up the case study and walk them through it in the way that I described in my sales process strategy. And for her, it's like her project average is about 15K, that's pounds in revenue. So these case studies are helping her close more 15K projects. Like, who doesn't want more of those? And then the last one is my client, Meredith Melberg. She's an executive career coach. She is the one that she was my first client that really saw like amazing success with pulling up the case studies on the sales calls. She again, her packages for coaching are anywhere between 10K to 100K. And the problem when we started working together was she would have sales calls and then she would get off and she'd have to follow up and follow up and follow up. And her sales cycles were really long. And so she started doing this case study approach. And she's like, my sales cycles have so decreased because of this. And the win that I posted this, how is it going quote from her, but she was super excited because one client for a really big project closed 15 minutes after her sales call. And she was like, I cannot even tell you the last time that happened. But it was because she was pulling up these case studies. She had them in existence to pull up. They looked so amazing. And she was able to show right away, hey, I've helped a client just like you. This is what we did. And I'm confident that I can do the same thing for you. So this is my last slide, but just ways to learn more. You can see case study samples on my website. You can literally go there and with the one pagers, if you're like, I just want to copy a effective one page case study sample because I want to do these by myself. Go and just use all the samples on my website as inspiration. I also do have a DIY resource. It's called Write Your Own Your Own One Page Case Studies. Or it's called Write Your Own Case Studies Digital Workbook. But what it really does is walk you through step by step how to write your one pager. Like I literally teach you how to write the headline. I give you formulas, like all that stuff. So there's a digital resource there for you if you're interested in checking that out. That's also on my website. But beyond all that, I'm not here to sell anything to you. I'm really here to share. My inbox is always open to talk about case studies with every single person I share my case studies presentation and message with. My email is dana@nextlevelcopy.com. And if you have any questions whatsoever, just reach out to me. I love talking about this and I love helping people get case studies into their business processes. And so I am a resource for you. And that's it. I'm happy to take questions.
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted.
That's
Um,
okay.
do you want to stop sharing your screen and we will just okay. Let me remove your spotlight. Great. So we did have one question up there that I didn't read before, which was how are you using one case study for marketing on social media, for example, on LinkedIn?
Okay. So the way that I tell people to use their case studies is a lot of times, if people do have case studies to use or they have them created, they think they can use them one time and then they can't share them again for like 3 months or ever again. Some people are like, I did a LinkedIn post about my case study and so that's it. And it's like, no, you should. I tell people like always think you can get at least 20 posts out of one case study. So, and the way that you do that is this, okay? You're always going to be linking your post back to your case study. And I like to, I just insert my case studies into the media library in my website. So they're linked. There's always a link there for me to send people to. But like when I do a longer form case study, which is like the full story, there is so much content that comes out of this 20 to 30-minute client interview. They're talking about their challenges. They're talking about what they resonated most about my approach or my client's approach. They're talking about all the different results they've had. Every single one of those ideas is a post in the making. So, and even if you just do a one page case study, you can literally break up that case study into so many different ideas just and do a post about a client's challenges. So let's say you have a case study that talks about a particular challenge that someone was having. You could do one post just about Sally's particular challenge, outline that challenge, then link out to the full case study. You could do another post on Sally's solution that worked for her. Maybe 2 days later, do a post about the solution, link back to the case study. Same thing with results. You could take each one of those results and make it a different post and link back out to the case study. But you can also generalize all of those ideas. So let's say you're doing a post about Sally's challenge. You could do a kind of a broader post about this was Sally's challenge, but I also have other clients who have these challenges. Dun, 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 dun. And then link out to your case study. Like there are literally like I always challenge people, like make it a game with yourself to look at a case study and say, how many different post angles can I get out of this one case study? And you force yourself to get 20. Force yourself. So if you know I can't get up out of this chair until I have 20 ideas, or download it into ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT, hey, here's my case study. Can you come up with 20 LinkedIn post ideas? Boom, there you go. Like there is, it makes me so sad. Two things make me sad about case studies. One, the people that have them, but they gather dust on their hard drive because they're not being used. Or two, the people that post once about them on LinkedIn and think, oh, I posted about my case study. Now I can never mention it again.
Yeah.
It's like, no, talk about it until you are blue in the face because every single person on LinkedIn is not seeing all of your posts. So
You also just said something about you can list the other ones, which kind of brings up Christina's question. She says, many of my prospects want to see multiple examples of websites or brand projects. Are you opposed to grouping case studies together, or include all case studies at one time?
like grouping them together when you communicate with someone or kind of use it as a drip. Is that what you mean?
So I have like a portfolio collection for all logos and all websites, and I group multiple case studies together so that they can see multiple
Yeah.
projects in one document. Do you like that idea, or is it
Yeah.
like too much over?
No, I like that idea. I
Okay.
think as long as it's not as long as it's presented in a way that's easy to consume and it doesn't feel like overwhelm. Yeah, I mean, it's just how great is it to have volume of like, we did this, and then we did this, and then we did this. And one thing, just from like a perspective as a service provider, like when you do branding or you do web design, like a lot of people think, oh, I shouldn't, why do a case study if I can't point to tangible business outcomes? Like so many business owners fall into that bucket where they're like, well, I've got a 2-year process. So how do I really talk? I don't know all the tangible business outcomes, or I don't do a particular service where you can point and say, what I did made this company $100,000, right? Like, yeah, it's awesome if you can say that. But if you can't, still make case studies anyways, because people use case studies to understand your approach, what it looks like to work with you. Um, all kinds of different things besides just tangible numbers and dollars. But also, if you take the time to start to get strategic feedback from your clients, like I have a gazillion clients that I've worked with who all say the same thing. It's really hard to tie my work to tangible business results. But when I interview them, I ask that question. Like I say, I know it's really hard to tie Sally's work to tangible business results. But how would you say that the impact of her work has helped you move the needle towards your business goals? People respond every single time with something. And there have been so many times where I go back to my client with, blanket blank, your client said that they had a 17% revenue growth year over year last year, and they directly attributed you as having an impact on that. And they're like, what? And now they have this amazing quote that they can use in their sales and marketing, but they never would have had that because they, in their mind, were like, it's hard to tie my work to tangible business results. Well, yeah, it is because most of the time you haven't tried, you haven't asked. And so if when you start to talk to your clients, like don't be afraid to ask those questions. And if it makes you sound make if you're like, oh gosh, this is gonna make me sound, like I'm fishing for something, who cares? Like it is shocking how much people will say, but people don't, like business owners do not ask most of the time. So
Is there a time frame in which you recommend people going back to their clients, like after you've done a brand logo refresh or after you've done a website? You say, okay, let's wait 3 months or 6 months so that you can have this. What do you recommend with that?
the number one thing that I recommend is to stop thinking of case studies or as things that happen at the end of a project and start thinking about them as something that is created at the very beginning.
Okay.
So the minute you sign a new client, say to yourself, what do I need to have in place to make this the best case study in the making? And so for a lot of people, that's, oh, I need to make sure that I am really good about saving all of my email communication with this client. I need to make sure that I put together, even if it's just a 3 question survey, to get a baseline from them of, let's say it's web design. How confident do I feel about my web design right now, or the design of my website? How confident do I feel about my brand right now in my ability to sell myself? Like, just get people to give you a baseline of where they're at is like amazing, because then you can touch in with them in like at a midway point in the project. And then at the end, and they're continually rating themselves across these three, whatever it is, three questions, 5 questions, it doesn't matter. But you're able to show growth, even if it's in confidence or if it's in ability to sell or close sale, whatever it is. So you got to start thinking about your case study creation at the very beginning of your projects. And then you determine at the end how often you touch base. It's obviously at the, when you deliver the product or service,
Mhm.
but then you just set it all up at the up front so people know, and like that you take gathering feedback seriously. So at the beginning of the project, you're like, hey, I really, it's value, it's so a part of my process to gather feedback. So I know that I'm producing great results for my clients. As part of my process, I check in with you after our project has been wrapped up for 3 months and 6 months. So they're anticipating, okay, like this person is going to be reaching out to me to see what results I've experienced or what impacts I've experienced 3 months post, 6 months post, whatever system you decide is right for you. But you set the stage, like this is what I do. I collect feedback. So basically it's like you're saying without saying, don't ignore me when I email you.
Right, right.
Or if I follow up 10 times, it's because this is a part of my process and I want to get this feedback. But it also primes their mind to be looking for feedback to give you. Like, hey, I never would have thought about this, but one really cool result we had from our new website design was that we're getting contacted by much bigger companies. Like, whatever, like it keeps it on their mind more. And so you're going to get better feedback that way.
So I know we're over time, but we do have one other question in the chat, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Which is I have an this is from Dawn who ran out of the room, but I have an old case study 10 years old. Can I still use it?
It if it is still highly relevant and aligned with the business goals that you're trying to achieve, yes. If it's just an old case study from your business, but it's not talking about a service that you still offer or that you want to sell more of,
Mhm.
because it's going to get you to your next level of growth, I'd say don't use it. It's not going to be the magnet that you want it to be. You're better off, everyone's better off defining their business goals. Where do they want to go? What clients will help them get there? And then create case studies that are the most aligned with that type of client or clients.
I also like that. I know I said that was the last question, but I also liked that on your last case study, that example that you showed, we just a answered your question, Dawn, but it'll be on the recording.
Okay.
You had mentioned that one of the people does Loom videos of their case study, so they take someone through it. And I think
Yeah.
that's an absolutely great idea as well.
Yeah, yeah, and all of this, like I do primarily print case studies.
Mhm.
One, they're way more affordable for companies, and so and that's what I have people reaching out to me for. But you can apply all of this to video case studies too. This is not just to say like video case studies are a-okay as long as they are positioned properly and aren't like a 5 minute video dump where someone's talking to you about everything under the sun. Like no one is going to consume that. If they're strategically created and it's video, awesome. If it's print, awesome. The name of the game is just start sharing the successes of your clients to help you sell more and market better.
Okay. Well, this was great. Thank you so much for this information. And
I'll share my I'll send you that you can have the slide deck to share so
okay,
you'll have all the info. And like I said, like no like I'm if you have any questions, just email me. I love talking about this. There's no sales pitch that comes with emailing me. I'm not going to try to get you on a call. I'm not even going to share any of my case studies with you. I just sincerely am open to helping you, launch any case studies or improve any case studies you have just because I think they're so important.
great. Well, I will share all your information when I send the video out. And thanks again. I hope everybody has
Yeah.
a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet everybody.
Bye.
Bye.